All-new episode of Rooster Fighter. Mario, it's me! KG! Stupid son of a... Snap out of it, will ya? Rooster Fighter, next Saturday at midnight, only Toonami on Adult Swim. On the next all-new episode of Dawn to Dawn.
No! Evil Eye! Fight me instead!
Dawn to Dawn, next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Greetings, listeners. This is our podcast, Toonami Therapy, recording on April 28th of 2026. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello. I'm Tommy.
And on our podcast, we talk about anime, some of which is on Toonami, which is what we start with, as usual, because I don't think there's any big news that I missed. Was there? About Toonami? Nope. As usual, I never actually check these things beforehand and always forget. But I do not think there was, and if there wasn't, then, we'll just, do it then. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so we'll get into it then with Rooster Fighter Episode 7. So basically what happens in this episode is Keiji tries to go on a date with some pigeons and doesn't work out the greatest. Then the series remembers, oh yeah, there is supposed to be stuff about, them fighting monsters, right? So we get some more backstory stuff about Keiji. Then Pyoko, that's the name, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, wow, good, I remembered. Ed goes off and tries to help some lizards against another lizard, but then the bad lizard, a demon guy appears from that and starts rampaging, so they have to fight that. And then meet someone who apparently is Keiji's brother and is the fourth chicken that's in the theme song, so they're probably going to be important.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know why, but I barely remember this episode. I had to look at, I remembered everything when I saw it, but I had to look back at it. It was, I just don't have too much to say with it. It was decent.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. It was pretty good, but nothing memorable about it.
Okay. After that, we've got Dawn to Dawn, episode 26. So they try to exorcise the evil eye from Gigi and don't have success. But then they discover that they can actually bring him back in control if they splash him with hot water, and then the evil eye gains control when they splash him with cold water. And just in case you missed a reference, they actually sing part of the Ranma 1/2 song in the episode. So they basically say, okay, we need to keep an eye on you and make sure you don't get in contact with any cold water. But then he actually does, and then the episode just abruptly ends.
Yeah. That was such an abrupt ending to the episode that it took away from what was a pretty high quality episode up to that point. I don't know why it ended there, but yeah. see if I have anything to say about this. Uh, oh yeah. So it looked like there's this giant explosion that like killed everyone to end the episode, and I'm like, that would be actually a pretty funny way to end the series. So keep that in mind, for a future uh, series finale. Maybe we can have a finale where everyone gets blown up in the final scene, and that's how it ends.
Mm. I Yeah, that would be something. I think that happened sort of at the end of the Drawn Together movie. I didn't watch too much of the show. It was kind of a bit crude for me, but that's what happens. This eraser bomb goes up and erases them from existence. The end. So anyway, in regards to this, yeah, I mean, I assume they're not going to die because we got all these episodes left. I always make the joke. Well, what happened if the whole cast just dies midway through the season and the rest of the show just like says, okay, we'll focus on some different people now. Like this is like the show that I know obviously will not get made, but it would be just such a troll to have that happen, or for them to win midway through the season, and then just the rest of the remaining like 6 episodes is just them all partying over their victory over the bad guy, or that sort of thing.
Or even better, the villains partying over their victory over the good guys. That would be even better.
No. Here's what we need. We need the second half to be the villains just partying, and then at the end, a bomb goes off and they all die.
That would make too much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can always just write it off as a dream or something. You were mentioning about Magnum PI the season had with him like apparently dying and going into the afterlife, and then the next season I looked it up.
Yeah.
Then it just like writes it off. No, he was just in a coma, and this was some sort of dream of his.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm reminded of there's you probably didn't. Did you ever read any of those Clue books? They were kind of based on the board game, and it had like the characters of them, and it would just go these things where because they knew like Mr. Body, and it would always be some story about how he had some special thing that was worth a bunch, and they would all try to figure out some way to steal it. That was how most of them went. In the end, every book had the final chapter have Mr. Body killed somehow, and then it would like, who killed them? And then the next book would always open with him saying, oh, you might think I was dead. Well, here's how I survived it. And I guess there were like 16 or 18 books in the series. I guess he stayed dead at the end of the last one. Then. Okay. So yeah, this was a fairly funny episode, I think. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we move on to Blue Lock, episode 12.
Okay, so now we're into the second phase of it, or maybe the third phase. I'm not sure what you'd consider it, but
They call
how
it
they
second selection.
Okay, yeah, so I was right the first time. So basically, got to make 3-person teams, and Yoichi wants to team up with Nagi, but his friend Rayo won't allow him to. So then Nagi just says, "Okay, I'm just teaming up with you two, Yoichi and his friend, and there's nothing you can do about it." So it's just like, okay, and they, for no reason at all. That's the problem with this, is that there was no good reason for it. It was just like on a whim. So anyway, they go and start playing their first match, and what do you know? They're losing right off the bat. And, and it's like every single game of Yoichi starts with him behind. I mean, It's amazing how he can always be in a hole every episode. I'm reminded of sports teams where like a hockey goalie gives up a goal on the first shot every time, and that's kind of what this reminds me of. So, um, yeah, that's Spula.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, the reason Nagi did that was because uh Isagi insisted on being with Bachira, and well, no, Isagi and Nagi were going to be on a team, and Isagi wanted to be with Bachira. So and then not and then Rayo's and then when Rayo's like, well, no, you should be with me. Nagi's like, yeah, but we lost a previous game, so that's why.
Mm.
He said it with slightly more articulation, but that was it. It was basically, yeah, but we lost working together, so I need to be with someone else now. So something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I didn't have too much else to say about it, but yeah, to be fair, it feels like in general, sports anime always seem to have the main character's team like be on the downswing at the start. Like I'd say there was that one time in Blue Lock where they're actually getting those goals at the start, but then it's like, that was all a trick in them. What do you call it? The most convoluted sports shaving scheme in all of
Yeah,
anime.
yeah.
So yeah. Okay. After that, we've got Tokyo Revengers, episode 12. So they basically go over to talk to I keep forgetting, is her name Hina or Hinata?
I think it's Hinata, but they only call her Hina.
Okay.
So,
All
yeah.
right. So they go to there, except then Takamichi loses his nerve about meeting her. So he just decides to leave, but then randomly runs into her anyway. So it seems all great for them, I guess. And just when you think that the series is going to suddenly turn into a rom com for the rest of it, they they end up, she ends up getting killed anyway because these bad guys were doing that. They were trying to kill Takamichi, but I guess they just only got her and not him. Although it seems to me they could have tried to kill him while he was spending the time trying to save her from the car. Anyway, the car is thoughtful enough to time its explosion so that it's long enough that he's able to, have the final heart to heart with her, but not so. But it's still sorry, it's able to do to hold off on that and let the part where she shoves him out because it's going to explode, and then it explodes and she dies. So he was kind of fortunate with that timing. I guess the car was like just thinking, oh man, I can't blow up yet, I gotta hold it in, these guys need to have their moment, when someone has to go to the bathroom really badly or something, and the car is just like trying to hold it in, so they can have their big moment. And
Yeah.
I was not expecting to engage in, I guess, toilet humor in this, but I did it accidentally. And then that happened. So I guess Takamichi is going to have to go back to the past and undo the future that is. I need a thing to replace Aku with to make the joke work. To undo the future that is an exploding car. There you go.
Yeah, some reason he said that he needs to become the boss of whatever the name of that gang is. So looks like we're gonna have more gang stuff for the rest of the series, which makes me very disappointed. Um, yeah, it was an interesting episode. I thought that Takamichi just like went out of character altogether. It's like, okay, you're going to go back in time. You're going to go get beat up repeatedly by all these people. And then you're going to go and cause all this stuff to happen. But then, whenever you have the chance to see your girlfriend, you're too scared to even say hi. It's like, wait a minute, that can't be the same person. That's just not possible. So, um, yeah, that was a little weird. Then, um, her brother was acting really weird in this episode. They never explained that. It was as if her brother like knew that something was off, but he didn't say anything about it. So yeah, that was a little weird. Um and then she gets killed and there's like a million different things he could have done better, but he didn't because he was in a state of panic. So uh yeah, not much you can do about that. Um so overall, did I enjoy it? Yeah, I did, actually. I actually enjoyed this episode, and that's the first time I can say that probably this entire series. So, um, I actually thought this was entertaining. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on
Yeah. Although, how much of that entertainment was intentional, do you think?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to assume we're still going to stick mostly with the gang stuff because the author seems to really have a thing for writing about gangs. So this was like his big hit. I don't know if he had anything before this. Oh no, he did. I'm looking at him. He did have a series before this called Shinjuku Swan. What was it? What was this series about, though? Let's see. It's not really telling. Let me look. Anyway, but whatever this one is, he later on made a series called Asteroid Royale, which did not achieve anywhere near the popularity of Tokyo Revengers. It lasted, I think, about a year before being canceled. And that was also like about, gang stuff. So let's see. Okay, Shinjuku Swan. Here's my anime list description. Shiratori Tatsuhiko works as a scout for Burst Talent Agency in Kabukicho, Shinjuku's red light district. In a business where money means everything, Tatsuhiko finds himself in a constant struggle between rival talent scouts and the Yakuza. So yes, we have gang stuff again. All three of his series have involved that in some these series, his major series at least. There's a few others, but I don't know what they're about. Now I feel like I suddenly need to look these up. Let me just check this quick. Let's see. This one's called Abaddon. This was a short one. Dang, I don't see. There's no description about what it's about here on my anime list. So I don't know. Yeah, they probably aren't like the best known things. But yeah, like I said, the author just seems to really like to write stuff that involves like Yakuza or gang members somehow in terms of his, this one, his previous sort of lengthy series, and then the new one he did afterwards. So yeah. Okay. So we move on from that to One Piece episode 774. So right, in this one, basically the elephant's being attacked by Jack, and then basically they discover that Momonosuke needs to give it a command. So finally Momonosuke, basically says, well, I can't remember exactly what, but just strike back or something. So then, the elephant uses its giant trunk to, blast away the bad guys. And they're all thinking, wait a minute, the giant elephant we're attacking can fight back? I could have never seen this coming, that when you attack a giant animal, it might actually attack you back. It literally, I was just thinking, do you guys not think about the possibility that, hey, maybe the giant animal could attack? But I guess that didn't enter their computations. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, pretty boring episode, I thought.
I think that, as is often the case with One Piece episodes, this probably would have been a lot more interesting if not for all the padding that we, of course, always had to get through. Like, what was it? Hang on, I think there's so many shots here in this episode that's just like I guess to both save animation, it's just a static thing, and then it's showing and then it just like moves it up and down rapidly to show like the characters are it's supposed to show that like there's the ground is moving, and that's the cheap way to do it, I guess.
Mhm.
But let me see what was the I just need to check to see just for the reference, how much of a chapter did this one adapt? All right, before I even look, I'm just going to say over or under half a chapter. I'm going to say over. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to say 3/4 of a chapter.
Okay, let's take a look at this one. All right, so this one was chapter, let's see, if we don't count page 1, because I assume that it was just like a random illustration, that's how it usually goes. So we were pages 7 out of 7 to 19. So math is hard, but yeah, you got it close. That's about 2/3. So we both got it right, although though you were more exact and you were pretty close. So definitely worked out there. Okay. So was there anything else I was doing? But yeah, once again, because we're just all the padding, I want to see that whenever that new One Piece anime series will come out. It's been announced. We just don't know when it'll premiere. It'll start from the beginning, and presumably because they don't have to worry about reaching the end now that there's over 1,000 chapters, they can actually pace everything well.
So it's like One Piece Kai.
Yeah, except actually like newly animated and such. Dragon Ball Z Kai, they just took the original one and then just cut out most of the filler and padding.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately they took out some of the best filler parts of it, from what I hear. I don't know for sure. Yeah.
Most of the filler really isn't important at all. Like the main stuff I think people remember is the one where Goku gets the driver's license, which is considered a classic, and not because it was interesting, but mostly because the HFIL episode, just because not because like anything was interesting in like the plot of the episode, but just because of that like really silly censoring that they did in the original dub.
Home for Infinite Losers.
Yeah.
I can't believe they actually did that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking at that point, why not just erase the letters entirely? Anyway, so yeah, we've now finished with our Toonami show. So let's move on to the other ones. Okay, so I guess let's go through the regular stuff first. So we've got 2 episodes of Yu Yu Hakusho, episodes 109 and 110. So Hiei and Mukuro fight each other, and Mukuro wins, but Hiei's able to finally, I guess, get those shackles on her wrist because she was previously like a slave destroyed. It's kind of confusing as to why she couldn't do it before, considering her power, but maybe it was just like super sturdy stuff. I don't know. Point is, Hiei loses, she advances. then Yusuke fights again, and he decides, well, we need to have something else, so I'm going to go all emo for a bit and see, because I don't know what I'm fighting for. Then he gets beaten up, and then he realizes, and then he starts fighting back, and yeah, they're still fighting at the at like the end of it, but that'll presumably end next episode, considering we've only got 2 episodes left.
Mhm.
And that was the episodes.
Yeah, very dull and boring episodes. How is this whole tournament arc going to be concluded in 2 episodes?
Very abruptly.
Very carefully, yeah. So, yeah, I just was struck out how boring this was, given that we're close to the end. Like, you'd think they'd be starting to wrap things up here, but instead it's just like, uh, we gotta have an episode of Yusuke, know, like you said, being emo and um, just questioning about life in general, and then finally waking up so he can win the battle. And then you've got 2 episodes to both end this tournament and reunite Yusuke with Keiko and Kuwabara and everyone. I'm assuming, and I might be out on a limb here assuming this, but I'm assuming they show up again. We'll find out. And yeah, so yeah, not the best of episodes. That's what I can say about that.
I thought the first one was kind of boring. I did like the second one more. It seemed more interesting. But yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho does have a kind of abrupt conclusion. I think the author, like, he was apparently really so having like issues keeping up with it. Like, he was having medical problems, which caused him to end it, and did it kind of abruptly. So yeah. Then he came back with Hunter later on, and then went on hiatuses for that, in notorious hiatuses for that.
And congratulations to him on turning 60 years old today. Togashi turned 60 years old either today or yesterday. I'm not sure which one, but congratulations to him on that.
Let's see. It's that was yesterday. Although, would that be yesterday or the day before yesterday? Because he's in Japan, and that's got a different. Japan is behind us, right? Or is it ahead of us? I always
No, they're
forget.
ahead of us.
Okay, they're ahead of us. So, so I don't know how all that works out in regards to it, but around this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do still think that for Yu Yu Hakusho, he should, because he obviously can write this stuff. It just seems his problem is drawing it. And I get the fact he's got medical issues and he's had them, but I do just kind of think that it would be better if you were to find someone else to draw it. Then he could write it, another person could draw, and they could get things out more frequently than 10 chapters every 3 years. Okay. Anyway, because I remember there was a comment made by either him or his assistant, I think, like about how, oh yes, the next 40 chapters are written. So I'm thinking, well, then the problem is obviously the drawing. You could get someone else to do that, but
yeah,
I can still see why someone would think, I want to be the one who draws this. If someone else it won't feel right. But in the end, yeah, draw your own conclusions, I guess. It is kind of funny to note that Yu Yu Hakusho ran from 1990 to 1994. That's not terribly long for, such a big series. Although, hang on, by comparison, how long did Demon Slayer run again? Was it about that? Okay, so that was about like the same amount. But anyway, so we had 4 years on that, and then Hunter x Hunter has been running obviously very variably, but since 1998.
And it's still good. It's technically still active.
I mean, he is still drawing it. He put up some like stuff on Twitter, I think, like a few months ago, or maybe even more recently, showing he was like going back to drawing it again. So a lot of people are thinking it's going to return, probably for another. What's the standard amount of chapters before it goes on hiatus? Something like 10, I think. Okay, let's look at this. Hunter hiatus. I like the fact there is a website that just keeps track of all of this for you. hiatus-github.io. So yeah, it usually just comes back for 10 chapters at a time. So we'll probably get that, but who knows when exactly. All right. So we'll get to the end of Yu Yu Hakusho next week. I think this will be, I mean, it depends on how you count it, but this is definitely, of the series we've watched on this podcast, start to finish, this is like at least in the top 3, right? The other two, and these are ones where it's a little more arguable, are JoJo and Hunter x Hunter, because Hunter x Hunter could come back with a continuation theoretically. There's more of the manga. And then with JoJo, there's more stuff coming out now. Does that count as new because it's part 7 instead of part 6? So I don't know how all that works out, but it's definitely one of the longer ones.
One Piece has to take the crown, though.
Oh, but I mean, series we watched like from chapter 1 until the end is what I meant.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Obviously One Piece is like the longest, but we didn't start with episode 1. We started midway through.
Yeah, we did. Actually, probably not even midway through. We started like a third of the way through, a quarter of the way through. It'll become a lower fraction with every passing week. And so, yeah.
There's also, I mean, we technically watched every episode of Dragon Ball Z Kai. It's just we started midway through, watched to the end, then they restarted. We started there, and then we just watched until we got to that starting point again.
Yeah, we watched, and it just so happened to end right around the time I started watching, which is really bizarre, but it was like the Ginyu thing came up, and I was like, wait a minute, the Ginyu was the first episode I ever watched had Ginyu in it. And I was like, okay. So it was like, it came full circle, but unfortunately that Toonami rewind didn't last very long, which is unfortunate because that was actually a really fun diversion. It probably just couldn't keep up in the ratings with the high ratings of Rick and Morty and what else do they have? I don't even know. The Amazing World of Gumball, I guess. So
I think that show ended a while ago, but maybe they're still doing reruns. I'm suddenly curious. Let's look it up. What are they currently airing in that time slot? When was it? I can't remember the exact time. Wasn't it like 6 to 8 or something? My time, at least. Yours would be different.
No, it was afternoon. It was like 3 or 4 p.m.
I remember it was at a time that I wasn't able. I feel like for me, it might have been 4 to 6 to me actually sounds right, because I remember I get off work at 5, and so I only would ever be able to be and watch like the last half hour normally. So let's see what we've got right now. It's during that time period. It looks, if it was 4 to 6, which I think it was, then we've got, we've got Ed, and Eddie at 4 and 4:30, and then we have Bob's Burgers at 5 and 5:30. And then 3 more episodes of Bob's Burgers, 4 episodes of Family Guy, and then we get like a ton of episodes of Rick and Morty.
How do these networks stay afloat whenever all they do is air reruns? Like they're paying so much money for the rights to syndicate them, but who actually watches all these things? If you're a fan of the show, why why would you be watching it because you've already seen it before? So to me, I don't know why. I don't know how these stations like USA, TNT, TBS, how do they stay afloat when all they're showing are reruns all the time?
Well, yeah, they're often just shows that rerun well, I guess. Like, let's see, what's USA got on Friday? Let's see, they've got. Oh man, this channel shows. Okay, so let's just start. This is next Friday. So, starting at 5. Before that, we have what is this? Premier League Goal Zone. Some sports thing, I assume. So then at 5, we've got Law and Order SVU. Then another Law and Order SVU. Then we have 3 hours. Yeah, WWE Friday Night SmackDown. So a whole lot of wrestling there. Then there's 1, 2, 3. Then there's like 6 episodes of 2.5 Men, and then it goes back to Law and Order Special Victims unit until like 5 in the morning.
Well, okay, so USA actually has some live sports. They have soccer, and well, it's not really a sport, but they have WWE, which is a fake sport, but it's live, so it's not a rerun. I don't know why anyone would ever watch it, but yeah, it counts as live programming. So maybe that wasn't the best example as USA, but still, I just don't understand how these networks survive just by showing Law and Order and 2.5 Men and NCIS and whatever
Well,
whatever other
there's
shows
shows
you
that
can think of.
there's shows that repeat well, basically. Like you can just
Uh,
pull on any random episode of 2.5 Men or Law and Order Special Victims Unit and understand things fairly well. And
it's
that's where you
true.
just fill your schedule with. Yeah, I actually watched wrestling for a bit a while ago, but I kind of lost some interest in it because I realized that when you're watching these things, they mostly are basically just like a several hour long commercial to try to get you to watch some special wrestling thing that's on pay-per-view. Like it just like kept like that was what it takes me. All right, and if you want to see how this continues, you'll need to tune in for some special wrestling thing that's on pay-per-view.
Uh,
and then like you come if you miss it, you come back to it, and then they're talking about man, all that stuff that happened in that. That's what it really felt like. I was watching basically all this stuff that was just to try to get you to pay money to watch this other wrestling thing.
mhm.
Uh, all right, so we move on to Solo Leveling episodes 22 and 23. So after the S ranks do their sort of duel thing, then we of course have Jinnu decides to go up against the strongest of the Japanese hunters, but they get interrupted. Then everyone just sets up for that big raid on the island to fight off all the ants, the mutant ants, and Jinnu's like, decides, I just want to spend time with my mother, so I'll stick back here. Then everyone goes there and they fight all the ants and they beat the giant ant queen, but then it turns out that there's this other ant that's super strong because I get to feel that that the author was inspired by the Hunter Chimera ants arc for this. who basically beats them and then goes off, and then they're going to have to fight all the other ants. But then Janu's shadows just show up because he put the shadows into their shadows because he can do that. And that appears to help them out. And that's my rambling explanation of these mostly action-heavy episodes.
Yeah. There was also the part earlier in the first episode where they did some training stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just kind of to show off how strong Chow was, and then to show off how strong Jinyu is, because he goes up against like the strongest guy and he's able to hold his own, and they have to like call off the battle before one of them kills each other. So but yeah, we got some gruesome deaths here, and obviously, so now I guess Genu is going to control these things from all the way back in wherever he lives. And where does he live anyway? Like what city?
I don't know if it explicitly says what city in Korea he lives in. Let's see. I would guess maybe Seoul, because that's how do you pronounce it? I think it's Seoul, but because that's at least where it seems all of like the series take place. But I don't know. I don't know if it's ever said. It might be some fictional series. It's a fictional city or just never specified. It's a city in Korea. That's what we know.
Well, we know that much. Yeah, so I enjoyed these episodes actually quite a bit. I was really into them. I'm guessing that we're gonna have a lot more than this. Like season 3 probably is not gonna be enough. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like this thing's gonna end anytime soon, because there's a whole lot of other stuff that needs to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah. These were fun episodes to watch. Although this is the part where you kind of realize why maybe when they broadcast this in Japan, they like said, okay, this takes place in Japan, and the Japanese characters are just from some unspecified country. Because oh boy, does Japan not get a sympathetic look here? It's just like, yeah, it turns out all the Japanese hunters are jerks, and they're just all gonna leave the others there to die and try to take all the credit. Korea, a lot of Koreans don't have a very positive view of Japan because of the whole, taking them over during World War II, and and from what I've heard, not being very apologetic about it. So you can kind of see that in media like this.
Well, I mean, there are people who still bring up Pearl Harbor how many years later. It's unfortunate, but yeah, some people are still bitter over World War II. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, Japan didn't like just attack Korea. They like just went over and took over parts of it, and apparently treated a lot of its population really poorly when they were doing so. So that's why there's kind of still some resentment in there.
Yeah.
Is my understanding. Like, this is not something I've done that much research into. So maybe I'm just saying this is what I have heard, that there is still like not the greatest relationships between them, which is why you kind of can get some why, at least in this media, you can see that Japan doesn't exactly get a sympathetic cut with this.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how all of that works out there. So yeah. Oh, and just to clarify, in case anyone was wondering, when I was talking about it like being in Japanese, there's actually two versions of like the Japanese dub. There's the version that you will see, say, like on the official sources, like Crunchyroll or whatever, and there it's loyal to source material. It takes place in Korea. but but there's like this alternate Japanese version that broadcast in Japan where like the name where it was all like changed to take place in Japan, and they gave the characters all different names. It's basically this is the exact thing that people like complain about companies doing for anime when brought to the US back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't anything else to say about it?
No, not really.
All right. So lastly of the anime stuff we watched, we did finally get around to watching those Lycoris Recoil Friends or Thieves of Time shorts, which came out actually about a year ago. It's basically just 6 sort of like short things that are like maybe around 4 minutes each with the characters. So since there's not really that much plot, I don't know if there's that much to talk about, but I thought they were mostly funny.
Yeah. Yeah, they were funny, but a lot of them ended way too soon to land the joke properly. I felt like it was like it would start off like, okay, we're getting close to something funny happening, and then it'd be like, okay, that's the episode. And it's like, well, you needed to have a little more substance in that. The one I found in music was the one where there's this uh robber going around robbing places, and then he shows up at Chisato's place, and Chisato just kind of like takes the gun out of his hands and flips it over on him. And like I've seen this happen in other medium, and it's just like I can't imagine that ever working in real life. Like you're holding out a gun and someone just is able to grab the gun right off you without anything bad happening. Like that just does not seem realistic to me. But it's apparently in a lot of shows. I've seen this in like other shows. So like, live action shows. So I don't know.
Well, at least in this case, in fairness, if he did try to shoot, he'd miss because we know Chisato basically dodges every single bullet.
Oh
That's
yeah,
her
that's right. I
special.
forgot about that.
That's her special ability. Honestly, that one did have what I think was my favorite joke in them. So, as you might have forgotten, but Lycoris Recoil, the ending theme, they start playing it before the credits actually start. Like the show is going, and then like in the last maybe 20 seconds, it starts playing the intro to the ending theme, and then it goes to the credits, which is something kind of cool, and I wish more shows would do it. But they are doing that here also. And they start playing it like, everything's just gonna end and be resolved. And then the guy shows up and the music just stops suddenly. And then they like go through all that stuff you described. And then the music starts again and leads you to the credits. And I thought that was a really funny joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, these are things that like, it feels like they maybe could have done as like a funny like subplot in an episode or something that they just kind of put into their own thing. So yeah, I don't know if we're going to be getting more Lycoris Recoil stuff or not. It was fairly popular in Japan. There are several light novels for it, although I think from what I can tell, they sound to be a little more like side stories like this, not like a continuation, just like some fun stuff the characters did on the side during the main series. I was a little surprised to discover that those ones are they're translated into English, the light novels. There's let's see. And there's a manga adaptation also. I don't know how. I assume it just is an adaptation of the anime. But yeah, those have English translations, and so do those light novels. The first 2 are due, and not the third yet, but that just came out in Japan a few months ago. So I was like just thinking, oh, well, they don't have translations. Like, oh, they do have translations in English. Huh. So yeah, if you want more and don't mind it just being in text, there is still Lycoris Recoil Ordinary Days and Lycoris Recoil Recovery Days, and at some unspecified point there will be Lycoris Recoil Gluttony Days if you want them.
Gluttony days?
Yeah, that's what it's called. I don't know what it's about, but yeah, Ordinary Days, Recovery Days, Gluttony Days.
Oh, wow.
All right, so we've gotten all of that. So shall we? I guess we can give our top. Anyway, that's all we've got to really say about that. I'm kind of surprised we talked as much as we did. Honestly, they're just like fun little short things. There's not really a plot to them for the most part, really. Okay, I guess we can list our favorite Toonami and non-Toonami series.
Okay, so you going first?
Oh, sure, I can do that. For the Toonami series, I think I'm going to pick, as usual. I did like Blue Lock, but Dawn to Dawn was kind of funny. Was kind of fun also. That's a tricky one between them. What's the tiebreaker? Maybe I'll just pick whatever you pick, unless you decide to pick something besides those two, and I'll be like, I don't know. Okay, I will, because I don't think necessarily. Yeah, I will. I guess I'll give this one to Dawn to Dawn. For the non-Toonami series, well, we had only 3 choices. I want to say I liked Solo Leveling more than Yu Yu Hakusho, but I'm wondering, should I say the Lycoris Recoil stuff because it's the only time we're going to have an opportunity? But I think I did enjoy Solo Leveling a little more, so I guess I'll pick that.
Okay, so solo leveling, obviously for me on non-Toonami, you probably could have guessed that. The best girl of the week is Chisato. She gets the best girl for showing up one time. I'm like, yes, there's someone to fill in because I'm gonna run out pretty soon. And the big news is that for the first time in Toonami history, I'm picking Tokyo Revengers as my favorite show of the week. Yep, Tokyo Revengers actually won it. I said it wasn't going to happen. Well, it has happened. So, congratulations to Tokyo Revengers on that. Hopefully, it has some more appearances in this same slot. That way, it doesn't turn out to be a complete failure like so many other shows have been, like Dimension W or whatever. So, uh, yeah, Tokyo Revengers wins it.
Okay. So we then move on to One Piece live action episode 15. Basically we get a most of the episode is just talking about Chopper's backstory, and then at honestly, I feel like the only part that wasn't the Chopper's backstory was the part where at the end where remember that like King Guy Wapple, well, he shows up again. So and that's what happens at the end. Other than that, I think it was basically just a Chopper's backstory flashback was what it was basically devoted to.
What was the name of the guy who mentored uh, Chopper?
Oh yeah, what was his name? I feel like it was Nihilik, or but let me look it up. Oh, well, I kind of had it. It was Hiriluk.
Hmm. Yeah, that. So this episode started out really slow and boring, and uh, and then it actually improved as it went along and got really interesting whenever we find out that Chopper saw the skull and crossbones and thought it meant that he can do anything. So like that seems so ridiculous, but it was actually a pretty touching moment. And and then Luffy went and had him put that flag up, which was very bad CGI, I have to say. It was like, okay, now I know we've been using more CGI in this season, but that was a little too much. But overall, I thought this episode got better as it went along, and um, so can't really say too much bad about it.
Yeah, I did. I was curious because I wanted to. I glanced over the manga just a flashback because I wanted to compare it. It's actually really similar. It stayed pretty faithful to what happened there. One thing that I think the manga made more clear that the live action wasn't is the fact that so Chopper like you said, he misunderstands it and he gets this poison mushroom because he thinks it like is the curing mushroom, and the guy takes it. Now he knows that it's a poison mushroom, which is the part that doesn't make that much sense to me. Now, one thing that so it makes it the live action makes it sound more like, oh, Chopper was dumb and killed him, but he was going to die. That's the big thing that the manga made more clear. He had like 2 weeks to live at that point. Korea told him, like, you're going to die in a few days. I can maybe make your lifespan go up to 3 weeks. And then 1 week into that is when that happened. So the guy was basically on death's door. This just accelerated things slightly. What I'm confused about, though, is then why he took it. Because yeah, I'm just thinking, why not just tell Chopper, no, this is like the wrong one. It won't work. Because if Chopper finds out, which he did, then that would like be really traumatizing for him. So what was the guy thinking would happen? Would he think that he'd just die anyway when he went in front of Wapple?
What if Chopper was like, hey, it worked so well for him, I'm gonna try it myself, you know? I mean,
yeah,
that didn't make much sense, you know? Like if
yeah,
Chopper hadn't found out, he might have eaten his own mushroom, you know?
yeah. That also, and just the fact that it would. I mean, I think he was doing it to try to be nice, and because he knew that he was about to die anyway. But it still feels like he wasn't doing it for Chopper. At least he wasn't thinking it through. Anyway, yeah. So that's what. But we at least know he knew it was poisonous because he mentions that when he's talking to Wapple before he just before he just blows himself up.
Mm.
Which I don't know if he accomplished anything with that exactly. So maybe he blew himself up for nothing. But I don't. That whole thing was just kind of weird to me, honestly. So his actions just were kind of confusing to me. But in any event, that's basically how it all went. This is like the highest rated episode of the show on IMDb, by the way. I guess people really get affected by sad backstories. So yeah, I think that's all to say about that then. So I guess we can just give our thoughts in terms of for my rankings of it. I think this is a bit of a tricky one for me. I think I think I'll put this below the episode that immediately preceded it. So this one, Reindeer Shames, is now in fifth place of all the episodes from this season for me. How would you rate it?
I gave it a 7 out of 10. I was thinking of giving it 8 out of 10, but I was like, you know what? This episode started too slowly for me to give it that high of a rating. So I think 7 is a more reasonable rating, which ties it for third place. So with two other episodes. So basically around the same what you thought of it. Um, I I just think it did improve quite a bit as it went along. So
Actually,
Yeah.
upon reflection, I think I'll drop it down one more slot. So I'll put it in sixth, which does put it second to lowest, which, oh boy, means I seem to disagree with everyone else's ratings on it. But it was still decent. It's, it was still decent. Just, I think the backstory was a bit slow and had some things that just didn't really make that much sense to me in it. Okay, so we're going to be finishing with a bunch of stuff next week. We've got the last episode of One Piece. We will be finishing up with Yu Yu Hakusho and Solo Leveling, and yeah, we're not finishing anything on the Toonami front, but we're going to be getting done with a lot of stuff at once. So we'll probably have a lot to talk about then.
Yeah.
All right. So,
For now. Yeah.
anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. So I completed my watch of Digimon's first season, quote unquote, the 54 episodes of it. And I have to say it was very entertaining. It actually held up pretty well, even though it's so old. And I realized partway through that like this thing is like okay, like whenever you've like quoted things, you've got like the Bible quoted the most, and then Shakespeare probably quoted second most, and then Digimon is probably about third most quoted all time, because every single line that I found funny, I could Google and find a whole bunch of people who had already quoted that line. So I'm like, people know this so line to line, like it's Star Wars or something. So yeah, so my favorite character of the first season was Kari. Um I know she comes back in the second season, which I'm gonna watch next. I like Sora. Matt was too emo for me. It made no sense why he just quit near the end. It was just like, okay, we need to split them up somehow. So we're gonna have Matt get this false prophecy, which makes him angry at everyone. So he has to go up on his own, and then through the power of friendship, everyone gets back together. No, literally, the power of friendship. I mean, so uh, yeah, so um, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the second quote unquote season is like.
Yeah, the final let's see. I don't remember season 2 as much as season 1, although I think part of that is because did I no, I feel like I only watched season 1 once. It's more of a blur, but honestly a lot of the first season is a blur also going back. I'm kind of curious. What I remember my opinion being was that I thought the series got a lot more interesting after Myotis Mon showed up. Did you kind of get that feeling also? That was kind of a major turning point of the series?
Like whenever all the humans found out about the Digimon, like that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, the show got a lot more interesting once everyone found out, oh, they're digital monsters, and we gotta have these people protect us and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone seems to I guess I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but just be warned, everyone seems like they suffer collective amnesia in season 2 because it seems no one like knows anything about Digimon, even though there's like, there was all this stuff that was happening.
What happened? Like, is this like one of those things where people get their minds wiped, like Sailor Moon, where every episode everyone gets their minds wiped? going into the next episode? Is it like that?
I don't think there's ever any explanation. It's just like season 2 comes and like there's not, and people just don't remember any of that other than the main characters. If they had given an explanation, that might have explained things. But from what I recall, or at least I remember this being brought up in like this kind of retrospective of Digimon I watched someone make. I don't even know if it's around anymore, but they mentioned that they were saying like there's all this like stuff with them attacking people in the regular world, and then next season it's just back to normal and no one has any like mentions of it other than the main characters.
Okay, well, you gave me a sigh of relief. I thought you meant that even the main characters didn't
No,
remember it.
no, I'm
I was
talking.
like,
No, I'm talking about society in general.
okay. Man, I was gonna be like, okay, this is gonna be a really weird watch, and uh, I don't know where it goes after the second season because there's like a million different Digimon things, and they're all different. So I have no idea what comes after season two, but see two, but the goal was to watch season two, but in order to watch season two, I had to watch season one. So I'm halfway to my goal, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, season 2, I just can't remember that much. I think all I know is that a lot of people, I think, disliked like not even the ending, but the epilogue. Although to be fair, I think some of it is people got annoyed because of like who some characters ended up with. If I remember correctly, and I could be totally wrong, there's like 3 pairings that end up, and one of them is like super obvious. Like, yeah, if they were gonna, that was gonna happen with those characters. Another one isn't like quite as obvious, but you're like, okay, that makes sense. And then the third one was the one that caused all like the controversy because I think one of them was a lot of people chipped them with someone else, and so that there. I think there's some other stuff in the epilogue some people didn't. Like, I can't
Okay,
remember all of the specifics.
you're gonna have to hold that thought
Oh,
for whenever I'm finished because I
oh,
want to know which one. No, you didn't spoil me. You didn't do anything wrong. I just want you to remember that so that whenever I get to the end, I can ask you which pair was which
okay.
as to, yeah. Yeah, I'm very interested now because I know there were two. I know there were two, but I didn't know there was a third one. So, yeah. I mean, the one pair seemed to already be getting together at the end of season one. So, um, I'm not, I'm gonna guess that's the one everyone saw coming, but the other ones I'm not sure about.
Well, actually, the main one that I thought was the at least for me, the really obvious one, like it was like, okay, if these it was one of those cases where I'm like, okay, if they don't get together, it's because like no one gets together. Like the series just ends without that. No, I'm actually not talking. The one that I thought was the most obvious is actually in at least one of them has not even been introduced yet. So,
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, the other ones I was talking about do involve characters that you have seen. So I'm trying to be vague there, and maybe if I were to watch it again, I'd be like, oh no, there I was wrong. But like I said, those are what I recall are the cases. One that like I seem to just my reaction, if I remember correctly, all those years ago when I was a kid, was there was one pairing that I like completely saw coming. One that I'm like, oh, I wasn't really expecting that, but it kind of makes sense. And the third one where I was just like, okay, I guess they got together. Like I wasn't annoyed by anything, but it was one where like, oh, okay, I guess they got together. I don't think I was expecting it, but I wasn't. It just kind of was there. But yeah, I can talk more about that later on.
yeah.
Those are at least there's 3 I remember. For all I know, there were others. Those are just the only ones I remember. I can't remember. It has been so long. But yeah, that's Digimon season 2. And then beyond that, I think they're all basically their own new continuities. I know season 3, like that's a completely different continuity.
Yeah, it's kind of like Gundam in a way, where like, you know, all these other things happen, and the only thing they have in common is that they're giant metal robots. And except although that Iron Blooded Orphans somehow got a season 2, I was like, you know what? I think one season was enough of that show, but it had to
There,
last into another season.
I I don't know which ones got sequels. The Gundam, I think there's like there's multiple continuities, but I think like it's a case where there's multiple timelines and some series take place in the same timeline, but aren't like direct sequels to each other exactly. I know one other direct sequel was Gundam Seed Destiny, because there's Gundam Seed and then there was a sequel, Gundam Seed Destiny, which it seems everyone agrees was terrible. Like, I have seen no one say Gundam Seed Destiny was good. There's been people who like Gundam Seed. I I remember liking it when I was younger, but to be honest, that might have just been because I was kind of younger and I thought some of the girls were really cute. So I don't know how much of it was the actual plot, but I never saw Destiny, the sequel. I just know that everyone seems to hate it.
Yeah, the one thing I'll always remember about Gundam is that it has one of my favorite ever opening songs, which is to Unicorn, which was unspeakably bad. And that season was just terrible. Remember how it was all about like they had to find like this I can't even describe it. It was so bizarre that they had to do this thing and it would stop a war somehow. They found like this document. This document said that something about something, and somehow that stopped the war from happening. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, I don't know if it directly stopped it, but it was important. So basically, they're all trying to find some document or something, and it basically is some rule that says if it was something like if there's some new kind of human, they will become the rulers or something like that. It was, and we were just like, does this have legal force or anything? Does it matter? But it's been so long ago, I can barely remember that series. So I could be totally misremembering it.
Yeah. I love Into the Sky though. That is such a good song. I I've about like 5 different versions of it now because I've found other people who have covered it. No one has done as good of a job as the original, but there are some pretty good covers of it. So yeah.
Yeah, that there was one. It kind of reminds me a little. I liked Zootopia too for the most part, but one thing that didn't make much sense is so the plot is that the characters they need to get this like old piece of paper that proves something. And I won't go into the specifics, but basically, if they get it, it will prove something, and that will like help them beat the bad guys and stuff. And I'm just thinking, can't the bad guys just claim it's a forgery? How do you like say, how do you prove, yes, this thing is totally legitimate, when they could just say, no, you just wrote that, that's just a forgery, that's not real. So that was something that the series that movie never actually answered. It was still mostly a fun movie, but that was one thing I was thinking of. So can't they just say it's not true and that would solve it? I don't know.
It's a lie.
Yeah, just say it's a forgery or something like that. So yeah, anyway, that's all of that, I guess. So anything else?
No, I can't think of anything else to add.
Okay. So I guess that'll be it for now. We'll come back next week for the end of 3 series, basically. So join us for 2 episodes of Yu Yu Hakusho, 2 episodes of Solo Leveling, and One Piece live action. And we'll see how all those series conclude. Well, I guess in 2 of those cases, it's just the seasons, not the series.
Yeah, and then in 2 weeks we have a really special
Mhm.
new format that we're going to. Well,
Yep.
not
Well,
really a new format, but
it'll be a little twist on what we've done before. Basically,
yeah,
we'll talk more about it for next episode, but basically
yeah.
we're planning to watch a whole lot of the new series that or returning series of anime that premiered this spring, and we'll try to narrow it down to the ones that we're the more interested in. We'll get into more of that later. But yeah, it is the return of what we call termed May Madness, which worked great when we did it in May, worked not so great when we did it in October and just decided to call it May Madness as a joke. No, we got some good shows out of it the second time, but definitely it was a step down from the first. So
Yeah.
hopefully now that we're in May again, it'll work better.
Yeah.
Okay. So Yep, I think that's it for real now. So we'll all see you next week.
Bye.
Dude, check it.
Dude, this is definitely it.
No way! Is this brand new regular show The Lost Tapes?
Oh, yeah.
This makes no sense. But I love it. My mom! I could watch this all day.
Get to work right now.
Fine. Watch brand new regular show The Lost Tapes, dropping May 11th on Cartoon Network.